Welcome to another audio reading session of Listen In, presented by Tenkara Angler. We are excited to have you with us again. Today we will be presenting Angling with Ghosts, an essay by Christopher Seep. Do you know the Catskills of New York State? If you are a fly fisherman with a sense of history, the Catskills resonate as the birthplace of American dry fly angling. It was here, on the Neversink River, that around 1890, Theodore Gordon adapted dry fly techniques described by the Englishman Frederick Halford. He crafted ideas with particular insect hatches of the Catskills in mind. Here, Gordon developed the quill Gordon, the base pattern for a brand new class of dry flies. These became known as the Catskill dries. In my humble opinion, this group of flies remains the iconic dry fly. Although now a dedicated Tenkara angler, I remain an incorrigible dry fly fisher and feel a strong connection to the tradition of early dry fly anglers. Recreational angling in that era, as opposed to sustenance fishing, was rooted in the same impulses we feel today on the stream: serenity, appreciation of nature, the challenge of fooling fish, and river song. So, when my daughter invited my wife and me to spend a week with her family at the Frost Valley camp in the Catskills, I was immediately on board. This would be a wonderful opportunity to spend time with two of my grandchildren who live 1,000 miles away while participating in a host of outdoor activities. When I viewed the online brochure for the camp, I quickly noticed an added bonus of the 3 miles of private access to the Neversink River which runs through the property. The Neversink. This is Theodore Gordon's river. The brochure depicted a fly angler waist deep in the river. I couldn't wait. A moderate gradient freestone stream, the Neversink River begins as two parallel creeks, the East and the West Branch, flowing from the heights of Slide Mountain, the Catskills' highest peak at 4,000 and some change feet elevation. In the hamlet of Claryville, the two branches merge to form the main stem of the Neversink, and eventually the river is impounded in the Neversink Reservoir, where it becomes a nice cold tail water, finally flowing into the Delaware River. Arriving at the camp, I spied the West Branch Neversink for the first time, and I will admit to a bit of disappointment. Instead of that wide river of languid flow shown in the brochure, this was a shallow creek, perhaps 15 feet wide, with sections of water 1 to 4 feet deep. Unless you are a garden gnome, there is no waist-deep angling in this water. I could have left the waders at home. Perhaps the stream was at a seasonal low, but it did not look like the kind of water that would inspire the development of a new fly fishing paradigm. The following day, after having discharged some very enjoyable grandfather duties, my wife and I got on the stream for the first time. Surveying the water, I realigned my expectations for the size of fish I could expect on a stream this size. Crouching, I put my hand in the water, pleasantly cold and as clear as new glass. Parsing the water from an angler's perspective, I realized that all the requisite elements of a trout stream were present, albeit in miniature form with slow water, riffles, plunge pools, and quiet pools. Smooth round cobble, from hen's egg to boulder size, comprised the stream bed and banks, requiring a bit of careful walking. Opposite from where I entered the water was a natural stone wall, water dripping from faults in the rock, sustaining the most attractive hanging garden of fern and monkey flower. Closing my eyes, I allowed the surroundings to work their magic, the sound of water flowing over stone as calming as mother's lullaby. Although late August and yet summer according to Pope Gregory, Mother Nature was beginning to whisper of the coming autumn, a cool freshening breeze and sparse flecks of crimson and yellow on the hillsides of birch, maple, oak, and evergreens. My wife's graceful casting of her 5-weight completed the angling mise en scène. Now I was ready to fish. I extended my Tenkara rod, attached a number 16 elk hair caddis, and began casting to all the promising spots. Moments later, I was attached to my first fish, a 4-inch brook trout. These are wild and native to these waters, with colorful spots like gemstones scattered on dark, wet velvet. This was the story for the next few days. Eager brookies ambushing almost any fly presented. Parachute atoms, black deer hair beetle, parachute ant, elk hair caddis. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. Finally, in what would prove to be my last hour of angling, I approached the river from behind the horse barn and corral. This was a dark and attractive wooded stretch of water. A handsome chestnut mare showed approval as I fished. There was an earthy, somehow pleasant odor of manure in my nostrils. It added to this natural setting. Soon I came upon a large plunge pool. If I were going to catch a large trout on this trip, it would be here. Before long, the parachute atoms I had earlier tied on became waterlogged and refused to float. Then I remembered the single quill Gordon I had tied for the trip. I plucked it from my box and attached it to the tippet. I made a soft cast to the head of the pool. That fly drew and immediately connected with what would be the largest fish of the trip. A trophy to me 7-inch brook trout. My amazing adventure story was complete. Tenkara Angler magazine would like to thank you for spending this time with us. We do hope you enjoyed this reading and will find your way to others. Here is a little bit about the author. Christopher Seep began fishing while still in diapers and hopes to finish that way. Since adopting Tenkara 10 or so years ago, he has never looked back. This article originally appeared in the winter 2016-17 issue of Tenkara Angler. Do you have a story to tell? A photo to share? A fly recipe that's too good to keep secret? If you would like to contribute content to Tenkara Angler, make your way to tenkaraangler.com and follow the link for submissions.